So in this video, I'm going to talk about an aspect of the DOM tree which is not particularly well known or well documented or mentioned across various tutorials. And the part I'm going to focus on this video is this thing here, this part of the DOM tree. You see, I'm highlighting the text within the element and not the element themselves. So this is what we're going to talk about. I will start by building a very simple HTML structure. I will create an article that is supposed to be a tweet message. So let's say I have an article with some content methods, and then I have, let's say, a time element with, let's say, the time and the date. So, and then I'm going to have like something like a like button. So I'm going to create a div inside here with a span like. I'm going to paste an emoji, and then outside of the span I will paste the number of likes. So just a very basic structure for, let's say, what a tweet element would probably look like, or its structure would be structured. Now I'm using a span here, even though I could just as well like remove the span and have this whole text on the same element, on the same level within the div's content. But usually when we are seeing these icons, for example, they tend to come with their own like element. So basically, when you have like a like button, I can even move the text outside. So when you have something like an icon, you usually use an icon library, and they come with some like elements such as an I, the idiomatic element, and they contain some sort of class that allows you to load, an icon. So libraries like FontAwesome or other libraries, usually when they want you to insert and display an element within your document, you will have to use something like this. So that's why I'm pasting this here, and I'm also putting the like in here because this constitutes like a part of the like button that won't be changing over time. The part that we want to change is this part. So this video is all about focusing on how we can select this part of the DOM structure and be able to change this. So I will start by adding some very basic outlines so we can see the elements. So I would choose all the elements and give them an outline of, let's say, 1 pixel solid gray, just to see their outlines. Let's make it bigger, and I will give these elements a slightly a small like padding, just to see the different areas. So you can see we have like the main article, which is this large gray element. Then we have this time element here, and then the div, and inside the span. Let me give a slightly bigger padding so that they, or I'll just leave it here. Okay, so enough of this CSS. Now the problem we have here, or rather the challenge, is that we want this button, this like button, to be clicked, and then when we click, the number 10 will be updated to 11, 12, and so forth. Even though likes don't work like this, but in this case, let's say that we just want to update for 10 to 11. Now let me give this element some kind of background so we can see like this element. So this is a rather long element, so let me give a width that takes up just enough space to fit the content. Okay, so we want this button to be clickable, and then when we click anywhere within this blue area, this part, just this part of this element, of this div element, gets updated, and we want everything else like the span and the like to be to remain the same. So how would you do this? So I will start with some ways that you probably think but will not work out. So first of all, I will select the element, the like element, so I get like a reference to this element. Let me console log to see that I have the element that I want, and that's exactly what I want. And normally you would add an event listener on this element, probably on the click event, and then when the click event happens, you want to update this part of the element. I'm going to skip the add event listener part, and I'm just going to try to update this element directly here. So one thing that you might want to try is to get like the likes element and use something like the inner HTML and set this to, I don't know, like perhaps 10. Of course, that won't work because the inner HTML will change all the inner HTML, which is all this part I highlighted. So this is going to change like the whole content. So inner HTML won't work for us. Another thing you can do is you can, of course, like take this and update the inner HTML in this way, and then do something like this. Okay, this will work, but the topic of this video is to actually be able to select only this part, target this part, and change it without having to care about this part. So there's one solution. Let me put also this solution, which obviously doesn't work. And if I also try things like likes element, text content equals 11, I will get exactly the same result. The whole text content will be replaced. So everything that's inside this element will be replaced by a text content, not an HTML, but everything will be destroyed. And of course, text content, inner text also has the same effect. Everything will be replaced by 11. Now, these obviously don't do what we want them to do, and they also not allow us to use something like HTML. So we can just add plain text here, and I guess this is the only option for us. But we want to be much smarter, more smarter than this, and we want to target just this element. Now, if you don't know the difference between text content and inner text, I highly recommend that you read, that you check the description below and check some articles and some resources to really understand the difference between these two methods, which of course are not the same. So head on to the description below and read more about these two. Okay, so how can we actually target this part? Now, the obvious method, or the obvious solution would be, you would think, would be query selector. So we would query the document and find like this part. Unfortunately, this cannot be selected with a query selector because this constitutes a very specific part of the DOM tree. Usually we think of the DOM tree as something that is made up of HTML elements, and that's half the truth. The DOM tree is indeed has indeed like a lot of like HTML element nodes, like the article, the time, the div, and the span. But there are also other types of nodes that make up the DOM tree, and some of the important ones are the text nodes, like these. And we can also have like comment nodes. So this is what I'm going to talk about. Now, in order to better understand like how the DOM tree works, I'm going to switch to this really nice application, which is called like Live DOM Viewer. And what we have here is we can paste some markup in here, and this application will automatically give us a live update of the DOM tree. So this is the DOM hierarchy. You can see that there's already the default HTML head and body sections of the DOM tree. They are automatically added when I even if I try to enter a empty in a plain text HTML file, just a plain div without head body, the browser will automatically create these elements. That's why we see these default, let's say, DOM parent nodes. And you see the div element that I added here is part of the DOM tree. So these green bold uppercase letters are the DOM element nodes. Now here's what's interesting here. See what happens if I enter a single space. You will see that immediately there's a new node added to the DOM tree, which has a slightly different view. As you can see, it doesn't have like bold green uppercase letters. It has this hash symbol and the letter text, the label text. Let me add another space after the div, and let me add another space before the div. So now in here we cannot see like this part because it's the first element. So let me put another div here, and I will put a space also between this div, a space after, and now we have like an empty space here and a new line. So what is happening here? You can see that the div, but let me go just to the first simple example. Start here. So initially we have like just the div element, but every time I enter a single character, like a single space, there is a new node added to this tree, and this is a sibling of the div element. This space is after the div, which means it's on the same level in this hierarchy with the div. So both div and this new text node are siblings, as we call them. If I put a space here, it becomes a text node of the div element. So now this text node is part of this div element. So characters, even space characters, are part of the DOM, and they are a particularly not well known DOM node, which is the text node. So as you can see, this is considered like another node. We don't have just element nodes, we have these text nodes. And as you can see, even a single space or a new line will create a new text node. So I have this P, and the text node that you see here is this space that I have right here. If I remove this, you will see that the text node is gone. Also, if I add the comment, so I will put a new line here, not a space, but a new line. I will press enter. You will see the new line character is also a text node, even though it's something we cannot see as something on the page. We can only see it as a new line in the text document. This highlighted new line character here, this orange thing, is becoming part of the node tree as a text node. Now, apart from the text nodes, I can also create comment nodes, which means every time I use the comment syntax in HTML, there's another DOM element getting inserted, let's say, to the DOM tree. This is a special node type called comment. So as you can see, the DOM tree is made up not only of HTML element nodes, but also made up of text and comment nodes, which is important because this is how we're going to be accessing. Since we know that this exists as nodes, as special nodes, we can target them and access them and change their value. So this is what we're going to do in this example. Now, before going further and actually checking, accessing and modifying this text node, I have some resources that I want to quickly share with you. So you'll find this in the description below. One of the articles that I highly recommend that you read is this article, What's the Difference Between DOM Node and Element by Dmitry Pavlutin. Great article, read it all the way to the end. And then another thing that I recommend is this Stack Overflow thread, which also talks about the difference between node object and element object. So this is when we're actually accessing the element and the text nodes through JavaScript. Now, on these documents, you will find that apart from the text and the comment node objects, we also find other types of nodes in the DOM tree. And you'll find these types of different nodes in these MDN pages. So I will also put this link at the resources below. It's all about these nodes. These are the nodes that make up the DOM tree. And you will see that apart from the document node, the element, which is, I would say, the most popular one and the one that JavaScript developers use all the time, we have document fragment nodes, we have text, comment, attribute nodes, character data, and other types of nodes. So the DOM tree is a really rich set of nodes, not just elements. If you scroll down on this page, you will find this list, this table of the different kinds of nodes that you can find in the DOM tree. And probably most of the times you'll be dealing with type 1, the element node. But you must know that there are also other types of nodes, such as attribute, text node, comment node, and so forth. So check the links below. Now let's go and try to pick this element and change its value. I'm going to go here and I'm going to use two ways to retrieve this. So the first is by selecting this element and then selecting its sibling that sits right next to it. So I will select this element. This is an HTML element node that contains a text node inside it, and next to it, next to this element, there's a text node. So first let's query this element, and I want to open the real console here just to see a slightly richer output. So I will close the code pen here, console. So let me get the span. I will say span L equals likes L, and then I'm going to use the query selector on the likes element to find the span. In this way, since I have a reference to the like element here, I can query inside this element. I don't need to query the whole document. So and find the span element, and that will probably give me a reference to the span element object. Let's see if we have, and yes, indeed we have the span. Now some things that we can find out about this special element object. We can test our code here, but I'm going to just go right here and click on the console and right click and select store as global variable. This will allow me to keep this element in a temporary global variable inside the console, so I have a reference to this object and I can play around. So if I use the temp1, I will see the element, and if I press the dot, I will see all the available properties on this DOM element object. So if I type next, you will see there are a couple of options at the top. We have next element sibling and next sibling. Let's check the difference. If I try next element sibling, I will get null. I will get null because span doesn't have any HTML element sibling. The sibling, the only sibling that it has is this text sibling. So just by saying next element sibling will give me null. But if I type next sibling, which actually is a broader, like and more generic, let's say, selector, it will check to see whether any type of sibling is available on this next to this element. So as you can see, the next sibling of the like of this span element will give me the text node that's right after here. And if you see, it also contains like a space that's included. So it's not just 10, it's also the space that I get after this If I remove the space, if I remove everything after the 10, so there's no space, let me see if I can still get. No, I have to switch to the code pen here, and then I will have to go here, span, click here, then back to the console. So now I can also get a reference, a quick reference to the clicked element by the $0. And if I say next sibling, I will get the text, which now is just plain 10, 2 characters. There's no space, no new line, and so forth. So this is how we can access the next sibling, the next text node. Let me add another element so we can see how, if we, let's say, put the 10 inside span and use the next element sibling, we will now get something. I will just click here. I automatically get this quick reference in Chrome, this $0, which gives me a quick access to this object. So when I go to the console and I put $0, that's another way I can access this right here. So now I have an element sibling. So if I select next element sibling, I will not get null. I will get the next element sibling. This is it. Now, I don't want to add an extra span in here, just for the sake of selecting and querying this element. I will just stick to the plain text node, which means that right now I have to, let me see, I think I still have a reference. So okay, that's cool. So I still have a reference to this element, $0. No, sorry, that's not it. So let me just select it once again. So click here and $. Okay, I have, and now I have next sibling. Okay, what can I do with this? Can I change the value of it? Well, if I try something like this, nothing will happen because text nodes are not manipulated this way. The value of a text node is available through the node value property. So this is the node value, which gives me, if you can see, the whole text content. So it's not that just the 10, the characters 1 and 0. I also have this special new line character. So this is the code for the new line character that I clicked when I wrote the HTML. So the new line is here, and also the 2 spaces that come after 10. So this whole thing, like this long gray bar, is the new line, and then after the new line there are 2 spaces. So everything is found in the node value. So you can see it's extremely precise. It gives me exactly what is found inside the text document. Now, through this property, I can also change the value. So if I assign a new value, you will see that the value is now 11. So this is how we can access and manipulate the value of a text node. So I will go here and I will say span L next element, no, next sibling. That's the camel case notation. And then we have node value equals 11. So let's see what happens. It reloads and we get 11. Okay, that's one way. Let's see some other ways to access and try to traverse the DOM and find some other nodes, not just elements, but also text and comment nodes. So for this, I'm going to be selecting, I will be selecting the like element. So let's now focus on the like element. Let's see. So I'm going to just click here on the whole div. So I have access to the whole like div. And I'm going to go here, press $0. I will also store it in a variable just to have a nicer name. So like, let's see how we can access the nodes of this element. We can say child nodes and actually get a list of all the nodes inside this element. So let's see how many elements, how many nodes we have. As you can see here, one might expect like one probably or two, but as you can see, we have 5 nodes. Let's open this up. So we have the text, we have a comment, we have a text, we have a span, and then a text. So I will switch now to the live DOM tree viewer to actually see where these things are coming from. So I will paste this here, and then I will just remove everything to see how these DOM nodes appear. So when I have this div class, no spaces, another element, and then the text node, you will see that we can find the div element with the attribute class like. This is also, by the way, another kind of node. This is also a node of type attribute. We have the span. Inside the span, we have another text node, which is this thing. So this is, a span has its own text node, and the div also has its own text node right after the span. The span and this text node containing 10 are the two siblings inside the div. Now, if I press enter here on the div, you will see a new text node was added with the new line character. If I press space, this is still invisible because we just added like 2 space characters, but this text node will contain the new line character and the 2 spaces. If I enter a space here, then 10 will have 10, the new line character, and I guess 0 spaces here. So you can see that the DOM tree is actually looking richer this way with these extra text nodes. Now, if I add a comment, you will see that the comment is also available as a text node. So let's go back to our example and try to access both of these nodes and see how we can manipulate them and also change the 10. Let me go back here. So I have this like element, and it has a couple of nodes. I can access the last and first node, first of all, by using the last child. You can see once more the distinction between last element child. This will look for the last HTML element child. If there's a tag, an HTML tag, that will give me the last element. But with the last child, I get all sorts of nodes. So if I say last child, I will indeed get the last node. In this case is the value, the text 11. So in here, I have just changed the value. It's still 10 in the code, but dynamically I changed this to 11. So you might think that this is here like 11, let's say. So this is this part. So if I can access the last child of the like element like this, I can also say like last child, once again, node value, it's 11, and I can make it to 12 this time. And you can see that it's updated. Let me update this also here. Let's see whether we'll get the result showing. So no, I missed the last child. I need to first access the last child and change the last child's node value to 11. Okay, that's it. And also, let's see whether we can change like the structure of this of this element by removing the spaces and the new lines. So we see that we have some new lines, some spaces, a comment. So let's see what happens if we remove, let's say, the comment and the new lines here. So I will try to remove all the things that are come before the span. Let's see whether we can do that. So I will go to the console. I will have the likes L child nodes So let me get the child nodes. Now this is an array-like object. As you can see, it has the square brackets, so I can access the first child node like this, and I can get its value. So it's a new line character, as you can see, with some spaces. So if I say remove, then I can not remove the node value. I have to remove the element, so I have to run the remove method on the child node. So I removed. Now let's see what happens now. As you can see, I'm left with 4 child nodes. I just removed the first one. Let me also remove the first one now, which is the comment. So 0 comment. Let's see if we have the node value. You can see that the node value actually gives us the comments section, the comments content. Let's see if we can also change the comments dynamically. So let's change this and check the here. So you can see we can actually change comments dynamically through JavaScript. Okay, let me remove this comment. So remove. And then let's see what else we have. Child nodes. No, have a typo. So we have 3 left. Let's get the next one. The next one is also a new line with some spaces. Let's remove this. So we're left with a span and the last child, which is the 10 or the 11 in here. So let's see what happens to our DOM element. If we go to the elements panel, you will see that we got rid of some of the new lines. Now I believe that this the browser automatically creates a new line here for this structure. So even though we removed the new lines, the browser still adds some spaces, I believe. So but we can actually kill the comments, as you can see, remove everything here. Let's see whether I missed something. So have the child nodes. Let me see. So we have the span. Let's see what child nodes the span has. So you can see I can go like this. It has 1 child node, text, what's its node value. Let's get it's the like, of course. So I can change this. Now we can dynamically change the comments, the text nodes, as you can see. So it's a pretty powerful tool and quite of a useful thing to know about the DOM tree. Before wrapping up, I want to show you how we can actually create these types of text nodes dynamically. So JavaScript and the browser API gives us this text constructor, which actually lets us create new text nodes. So these text nodes not only happen when we create, we add some characters or some spaces in our HTML document, but we can also dynamically create these nodes through this text constructor. So let me go here and get the likes element, and then let me I will get the span. So I will get the span. So that's the first element child. Now I'm looking for HTML elements. So I'm getting the first element child of the likes element. Let's store it in a temporary variable called span. And let's see whether we can have, so the next sibling is the text. Let me remove this. As you can see, it's also removed from the page. And now I will create a new text node and will append it on this next sibling. So let's see how we can do this. I can say const text equals new text. I just use the text constructor. I will put the text. Let's see what the text is all about. So text looks like a string, but it's actually an object. Text nodes, all types of nodes are a type of object. So we can see that the text node is an object, and we can check the constructor to see how it was created. So we use the text constructor to create this. And also, if you pick any text node from your DOM through the first element child or child nodes, and you check the constructor, you will see that these text nodes are created from this text constructor, either natively, automatically by the browser, or manually, explicitly through the API that it provides us. Also, if we get like the comment node and we check the type of, you will also see that the type of is an object and the constructor is comment. Let me refresh here and do just that so we can see. Let's see. Let's refresh, and I hope. Okay, I need to do something to refresh the code pen. Okay, now it started again. Let me get this. Let me get this element here. Okay, I'm clicking. I'm getting a reference here. So child nodes. Let's get the second one, which is index 1. So it's a comment. Let's check the type of. It's an object. Let's store it in a variable. And let's check the constructor. So let's see the constructor. You will see also this is created using a comment constructor. I'm not sure whether we can create a new comment. Let's see. And yes, indeed, we can use the constructor ourselves to create new comment nodes and append them to the DOM tree. So now let me have. So I have like let me see. I have a reference to the like. Let me create a new text node. And now I'm going to get a reference to this element, and then I'm going to say append child and append the text node. Let's see if that works. You can see that I just appended a text node right after the at the end of this element, and let's see how that looks like. You can see that the new text node was appended to this element. So you can see we can create text nodes manually and append them. Now, of course, I will see that this has 6 child nodes. This is the 11, and this is the 12. So you can see it's not a single text, even though it looks like 4 characters. It is made up of 2 objects, of 2 text nodes, which is important. Now, if I get the, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I get the 5th element, this is the 11. If I say remove, I will just be removing the text node that has the characters 11. The text node that has the characters 12 is a different object. So I can remove it by saying 4. So we covered quite a lot. Make sure to check the description below for references to the MDN documentation for the text constructor, the text content, the child nodes, everything that you need to know. And also I will paste a link of this nice diagram which shows the DOM tree with these text nodes. Normally, or most of the times when we Google for the DOM tree, we see just the element nodes, which is an incomplete version of the DOM tree, and probably we think that the DOM tree is made up of only element nodes, but no, it's made up of text nodes, comment nodes, and attribute nodes. So there's more to the DOM tree than we see most of the times out there. A quick Google for DOM tree, you'll see that most of the images just contain we have an attribute. Now this is a nice one. We also have the attribute nodes, and here we also have the text nodes, but sometimes you get to see this incomplete version of the DOM tree with just the element nodes. So keep in mind that the DOM tree is not made up of only element nodes, but also of other types of nodes. You can find all the types in here. No, sorry, it's in here, these types. And now I believe you know more about how to traverse the DOM tree and also have a better understanding of what the DOM tree is made up of. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.